Hey everybody, this is TJR. Growing up in the late 1970s, I can remember seeing an advertisement in the TV guide for Bing Crosby's Merrie Old Christmas Special, which aired on the CBS network here in the United States. Now, honestly, I had very little interest in Bing Crosby at that age. He was, after all, the guy from those orange juice commercials, and he was what my parents listened to. But what caught my eye as I looked at the TV listing was the mention of David Bowie making a guest appearance. What's more, the TV listing referenced that both Bowie and Bing would perform the traditional Christmas classic, The Little Drummer Boy. Now, I think that in this day and age, we are more used to the idea of musical dichotomies pairing up with each other. But in the late 70s, this seemed like the most unlikely musical pairing possible. And frankly, I tuned in expecting to see a disaster. Instead, though, I got something quite magical. Now, the TV special utilized a framing device wherein Bing Crosby receives a letter from a long-lost relative from England who invites him and his family to spend Christmas at his home in England, thus providing the setting for David Bowie and other British celebrities to visit him. Now, during this particular segment, Bing Crosby is inside the English relative's home when the doorbell rings. He answers, and standing at the door is David Bowie, who seems kind of cold, and asks him if he is the new butler. Bing Crosby responds, "It's been a long time since I've been the new anything." Bowie introduces himself and mentions that he's a friend of the owner, and that he lets him use his piano when he's not around. Now, I do have to wonder why David Bowie would need to borrow anybody's piano, though. He is a rock star after all, and I am sure that back in the late 70s, he could have afforded a whole fleet of pianos if he'd wanted. But I digress. Bing Crosby says he hasn't seen the owner yet and invites him in. They make their way to the piano and have a fun and rather cheeky conversation with each other regarding music.
But tell me, you ever listen to any of the older fellas?
Oh, yeah, sure. I like John Lennon and the other one with Harry Nilsson.
You go back that far, huh?
Now, part of what makes this scene so charming is that the two of them act as though they don't know who the other is. And each of them deliver their jokes with absolute deadpan accuracy. I have to be honest and say that as a 70s teenager, the absurdist, over-the-top humor of Monty Python was more my thing. And for that reason, a lot of Bing Crosby's very subtle, deadpan delivery just kind of flew right past me at that age. I do appreciate it a lot more now, though. Getting back to the TV special, Bowie is looking through some of the sheet music sitting on top of the piano, and he points out a particular song that is a Christmas favorite of his son. That song is, of course, The Little Drummer Boy. Bowie hits a few notes on the piano to give him and Bing the key signature, and they begin to sing together. And at the start, it's fine. Both men have warm baritone voices, so they match each other quite well. But then after the first verse, something remarkable happens. David Bowie breaks off into a counter melody and sings Peace on Earth, while Bing continues to sing The Little Drummer Boy. And the two complement each other beautifully. David Bowie sings a solemn prayer for peace, while Bing Crosby sings about a small boy playing his drums for the King of Peace. Now, I couldn't know this at the time, but when David Bowie showed up to tape his segment for the special, he knew he was going to sing a duet, but he didn't know what he would be singing. When he was presented with the song The Little Drummer Boy, he asked if he could sing something different, and he told the show's musical supervisors, Ian Fraser and Larry Grossman, that he didn't like this song. Rather than choose a different song for the two to sing, Fraser and Grossman came up with the genius idea to have David Bowie sing a counter melody. These two men sat at the piano and banged out the melody and lyrics for Bowie's musical counterpart in less than an hour. David Bowie liked what they came up with, and so did Bing Crosby, who appreciated the challenge that this new arrangement would offer. Now, reportedly, Bing Crosby was in declining health during the taping of this TV special, and he apparently introduced himself 3 to 4 times to David Bowie during the taping. But watching him in this Christmas special, you would never think that. He seemed as sharp as ever. I don't know. Maybe that's just the magic of film and TV. Bing Crosby would pass away 6 weeks later before the special even aired. And it wouldn't be until a decade later that their rendition of A Little Drummer Boy would be commercially released. In the home I grew up in, there was definitely a real musical disconnect between the music that I listened to and the music that my parents listened to. But in a matter of moments, these two musical icons from two completely different eras melted all that away. And it was absolute poetry.
Can it be?
This is TJR. Thanks so much for stopping by. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish a special Merry Christmas to my patrons. And if you've ever seen this performance, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, everybody. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.